The emergency entrance of the military hospital had seen countless wounded heroes, but that rainy evening felt different. Ambulances screamed through the gates one after another while doctors rushed between stretchers, shouting orders over the pounding rain. Standing quietly beside the reception desk was 26-year-old Emily Carter, a newly hired administrative assistant. She wasn't wearing a doctor's coat. She wasn't carrying a medical bag. To everyone around her, she was simply the woman responsible for paperwork. The veteran nurses barely looked at her. One orderly joked that the only emergency Emily could handle was a missing file. A young resident laughed and told her to stay out of the way before someone got hurt. Emily answered with nothing more than a polite smile. She had grown used to people underestimating her. Then everything changed. A black armored SUV skidded into the emergency bay, followed by 3 military vehicles. Armed operators jumped out first, scanning every corner before opening the rear door. Inside lay a man covered in blood, barely breathing. "Mauve," one soldier shouted. Doctors surrounded the stretcher instantly. Male, approximately 40, multiple injuries, severe blood loss. One operator leaned toward the chief surgeon. "His identity is classified." Another whispered just loudly enough for Emily to hear. "He's CIA." The hallway froze for a heartbeat. Within seconds the trauma room became absolute chaos. Monitors screamed. Nurses searched desperately for equipment. The wounded man's pulse kept dropping. Pressure's crashing. "We're losing him." The chief surgeon examined the injuries and frowned. "This doesn't make sense. Why is the bleeding getting worse?" One Navy SEAL standing near the door refused to leave the patient's side. His uniform was stained with dirt and smoke, his face carrying the exhaustion of someone who had survived hell only hours earlier. He stared at every doctor entering the room. "If he dies," he said quietly, "an entire operation dies with him." Suddenly the patient's body jerked violently, flatline. The room exploded into motion. "Start compressions." Epinephrine. "Charge the defibrillator." Emily watched silently from outside the glass doors. Nobody noticed that her hands had started trembling. Not with fear, with recognition. She had seen those exact symptoms before. The bleeding pattern, the sudden collapse, the strange bruising spreading beneath the skin. It wasn't ordinary trauma. It was something almost nobody recognized in time. Emily took one step toward the operating room. A nurse immediately blocked her path. "Administrative staff, stay outside." Emily looked through the glass at the dying CIA agent. Then she whispered words that nobody expected to hear. "You're treating the wrong injury." Every head in the trauma room turned toward Emily. For a moment, silence replaced the frantic alarms. Then the chief surgeon frowned. "What did you say?" "You're looking for external blood loss," Emily replied, keeping her voice calm. "But his symptoms point to internal compression caused by a rapidly expanding hematoma near the upper chest. If you don't relieve the pressure immediately, restarting his heart won't matter." One of the residents scoffed. "She's an office assistant. Security, get her out." The Navy SEAL stepped between them before anyone could move. "Wait." His eyes locked onto Emily's. "How could you possibly know that?" Emily hesitated, as if answering would reopen a chapter of her life she had buried long ago. "Because I watched someone die from the exact same injury." The chief surgeon had no time for stories. "We're losing him." Emily pointed toward the portable ultrasound machine. "Scan above the clavicle. Right side. If I'm wrong, send me home. If I'm right, you'll save him." The surgeon exchanged a doubtful glance with the team, then nodded. The probe touched the patient's chest. Within seconds, the monitor revealed a massive pool of hidden blood compressing critical vessels. The room fell silent. "My God," the surgeon whispered. "She's right." Everything changed instantly. "Prep for emergency decompression. Instruments. Move." The surgeons worked with renewed focus while Emily calmly called out each warning as though she had seen the procedure countless times before. "Watch the artery 2 centimeters lower. Don't clamp that vessel." The chief surgeon followed her instructions almost instinctively. Seconds later, trapped blood was released, relieving the deadly pressure. The heart monitor flickered. One weak beat, then another. Finally, a steady rhythm echoed through the room. The CIA agent was alive. Relief swept across the exhausted staff, but confusion quickly replaced it. The chief surgeon removed his gloves and stared at Emily. "You've never worked here before?" "No." "Then where did you learn trauma medicine like that?" Before Emily could answer, the Navy SEAL spoke quietly. "I've seen combat medics with 20 years of experience who couldn't identify that injury." He stepped closer. "So I'll ask again, where did you learn that?" Emily lowered her eyes. "My father, was he a doctor?" She slowly shook her head. "No." The room waited. "He was a field medic attached to classified rescue missions. When I was 16, he taught me everything he knew because he believed one day someone else's life would depend on it." The SEAL's expression changed. "What was his name?" Emily took a slow breath. "Daniel Carter." The soldier's face turned pale as though he had just seen a ghost. The Navy SEAL stared at Emily without speaking. The name echoed in his mind like a distant explosion. Finally, he whispered, "Daniel Carter saved my life 12 years ago." Emily looked up in disbelief. "He pulled me out of a collapsed compound after an ambush. I was bleeding out. Every medic thought I was gone, but your father refused to leave me behind. Tears filled Emily's eyes. Never told me that. Never told anyone, the SEAL replied. That was the kind of man he was. At that moment, the CIA agent slowly opened his eyes. The room erupted with relief as the heart monitor maintained a steady rhythm. The chief surgeon smiled for the first time that night. You gave us the clue that saved him. Without you, we would have lost him. The CIA officer motioned weakly for Emily to come closer. I heard your voice, he whispered. It reminded me of someone. My father. He nodded faintly. He once saved an entire extraction team. I promised myself that if I ever met his family, I would thank them. Emily could barely hold back her emotions. I lost him 3 years ago. The room became silent again. The SEAL removed the trident insignia from his uniform and placed it gently into Emily's hand. Your father earned our respect on the battlefield. Tonight, you earned yours. Even the doctors who had mocked her earlier stepped forward. We judged you by your job title instead of your character. One resident admitted. We were wrong. The chief surgeon extended his hand. If you're willing, this hospital has a place for someone with your knowledge. We'd be honored to train you formally. Emily smiled through her tears. My father always said that real heroes don't wear labels. They simply help when help is needed. Outside, the storm had finally passed. The first rays of sunrise broke through the clouds, filling the hospital corridor with warm golden light. For everyone who witnessed that unforgettable night, it felt like more than the beginning of a new day. It was the beginning of a new purpose. The CIA agent would recover. The classified mission would continue. The Navy SEAL would never forget the daughter of the man who had once saved him, and the woman who had done the impossible in just 2 minutes. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones everyone overlooks until the moment the world needs them most. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that courage, compassion, and quiet strength can change lives forever, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more unforgettable stories where ordinary people reveal extraordinary heroes hidden within.